Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Hello and welcome to My Hometown. My name is Bill Horan, along with my co-host, Nassau Community College student Zac Turkel. And today we're shining the spotlight on raising awareness about breast cancer here on Long Island.
Yes, Bill, and today let's learn about the Adelphi, New York statewide breast cancer hotline and support program and how they are helping Long Islanders affected by this horrible disease.
Our guests today include Reyna Machado, the Assistant Director, along with Desiree Abdelkader, one of the social worker interns. Welcome to My Hometown, Reyna and Desiree.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome.
Now, first question, what exactly is the Adelphi, New York statewide breast cancer hotline and support program? That's a big sign. I hope you don't have to have lights above it. It's going to cost you a lot. And who should be calling in for it?
So really anyone who is going through a treatment, who just got diagnosed, who knows someone with breast cancer, female or male. A lot of them are referred to us by social workers, hospitals, friends, and they come to us. And usually they call the hotline where they speak to volunteers. And the volunteers who answer the hotline are all survivors themselves, so it's very unique in that way.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yes, it's very special, and they're able to talk to them and have that unique one-to-one direct experience. Like, hey, I've been there.
And they say you don't understand, you can say, yes, I do.
Right, exactly. And that's something we as social workers who are the clinicians cannot do. So it's very unique to have that collaborative like two entities that make up the whole program.
And the person calling in, is this someone diagnosed with breast cancer, or they think they might have it, or they just want information? Who would be the typical caller?
The typical caller, I would say, are the patients, the survivors. Although, if you do want information, you could call as well. But if you're calling, you have to call yourself and make that call for yourself.
Okay.
So no one can talk on their behalf. That's out of the question, right?
You could have, say, a spouse could call if they have questions, or if they want to get information about, say, a support group or an upcoming event. So someone can call, but in order to speak to a social worker or another sort of a hotline volunteer, that say patient has to call back. We cannot call them directly. They have to reach out.
And let's say someone's listening that has been recently diagnosed with breast cancer. What is the hotline number?
Sure, it's a toll-free number. It's 1-800-877-8077. And it's staffed every single day, 365 days a year, from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. And if you call after hours, you can leave a message and someone will call you back the following day.
So that's you said, just to repeat that, any time of day someone can call, 365 days a year?
You can call, you could call at 2 a.m, but you could leave a message, obviously, and then someone will call you back the next business day.
But sometimes you just know it's time to call and want to make that call and get the ball rolling.
And we receive a lot of calls on the weekends or even on holidays, because that's when people sort of, if you're alone and you have no one to talk to, or you're sort of struggling with the diagnosis, that's when people very often want to reach out.
Now, just to get people over that fearful hump, what happens when someone's called? What should they expect to hear or be asked? Because some of us are shy and like, I don't want to call, I'm afraid. What should we expect? What's going to be the result?
So when people call, usually that means they're ready to reach out and make that step, whether it's a support group they're interested in, whether they would like individual counseling, or whether they would like to have both, or if they would just like to talk to someone for advice, or just to be able to have a conversation, because that in and of itself is therapeutic, and it's very rewarding, and it makes them feel so much better. And I had a client who, for individual counseling, and I was able to refer her to a volunteer who went through what she went through. And after she thanked me for setting it up, and she said, I just felt so much better. Thank you so much for setting that up. And it's very rewarding to be able to...
I don't think we realize how important that is to all of us, even ourselves, when we have a problem, just to talk to someone about it, just to kind of let it out and say what it is, a death, an illness, sickness in the family, an accident, whatever it might be.
Absolutely. And being able to vocalize that gives it less power and makes you more empowered as a person.
And is there any charge for the person to be calling you?
All of our services are free.
Oh, we love that.
Yes.
And the word is free,
F-R-E-E.
Great. No, because very seriously, today it's rare to hear that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And just to be able to say, I have a friend, and sometimes people are alone in these situations. We don't even realize that.
That's
or
very true.
Maybe the spouse doesn't understand the magnitude of it, and you're there for them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think it's even more... it's more better. I don't think that's the right word. But if someone, that learns this, knows this from experience, it's much easier to talk to than someone who really doesn't know. And it's the two of you definitely have experience with dealing with this sort of situation.
Yeah, so what I want to add is we have a peer-to-peer program, to your point. So we can really match someone. If a woman calls, a patient calls, and they really have a question about the type of diagnosis that they're having, or reconstruction, or even to say, I'm under 40 and I have small children and I don't know how I'm going to tell my family. Our hotline and volunteer coordinator can then match that woman with one of our volunteers, so that they can say, okay, I can have you speak with someone that had reconstruction, had small children, juggled treatment and going back to work and so forth. Because, to Desiree's point, they really have a different experience, and they may say, I used this book and it was really helpful with my son who was 8. And that's the type of connection that we can really offer women, particularly because we have 100 volunteers, and that really speaks to the breadth of our program, because we're not survivors, fortunately, we have such a wide array of women that have been there and that are so empowered and so passionate about the program that they want to be able to help others that are going through a similar and difficult time.
So it's important. Set this up, it really seems like they did a smart job, because they seem to have all the bases very well covered and no gaps in there, at least what we're hearing so far.
And definitely, and for all of you who are listening, you're not alone. Everyone is there. You have someone to talk to, and it's extremely important. Talk to someone. Mm-hmm. And my question is, how did this program get started?
Sure. The program was started in 1980. So at the time, there was a group of women that had mastectomies, and they met in the basement of the social work building at Adelphi University. And they met. They had basically a support group that was facilitated by social workers, because back then you didn't say breast cancer out loud. It wasn't something that was discussed back in 1980. And afterwards, the women really benefited so much from being able to speak to one another and share their common experience that they thought, wow, now that I've sort of completed my treatment, I want to be able to give back. And so the women themselves were the ones that thought of the idea of a hotline that they could sort of staff and in order to be able to reach other women. And it was such a difficult time then that it was actually called the woman-to-woman hotline, because you didn't say breast cancer. So even the way that it was named and the way that it was marketed in the community was very specific to the time. And then over time, the hotline grew. We were able to obtain funding, and now we offer support groups, educational programs, bilingual. We have social workers that speak English and Spanish, and also offer community outreach, education, and mammography screening programs.
And before Bill asks the next question, I just want to let you know that you are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Zac Turkel, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking about the Adelphi New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program with our guests, Reyna Machado, their Assistant Director, along with Desiree Abdelkader, one of their social work interns.
Now, ladies, one of the things I see that you have different groups. So could you tell us what are the groups that you'd have there as opposed to just the general umbrella support group?
Sure, absolutely. So people who are interested in joining a support group, they have feelings of isolation, loneliness, their body image, self-esteem, and so they just want support. They want someone to talk to. So we offer multiple support groups, and I co-facilitate 2 of them. And we have a general breast cancer group, which is the newly diagnosed, and that's up until 18 months. And we found that a lot of the people didn't want to leave. They loved it. So we then created the Touchstone group. So after the newly diagnosed, after that 18-month mark, they'll graduate to the Touchstone, and that's a monthly group. And they read a book, and they discuss the themes and relate it and connect with it. And back to their own experiences, and it's really unique in that way. They'll have pizza. It's a really good time.
See, now anything with food, Zach and I love
exactly.
to eat.
Yeah.
Pizza is good. Pizza.
Okay, you can't go wrong with pizza. Everybody loves pizza.
Exactly.
And it's of course, the title is the Adelphi New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program. Is it physically at Adelphi University?
It is. We are located in the social work building and we're on campus, 1 South Avenue. And
that's in Garden City, correct?
Correct. We're in Garden City, and it's
nice environment over there.
It is beautiful. And in the springtime, you see the bunnies hopping around.
All right, come out there for the bunnies.
Good stuff.
Desiree, this question's for you. So tell me about your internship as a social work student at Adelphi.
Okay, where to begin? I'm learning and have learned so much. I have a great supervisor. Shout out to Erin. She taught me so much and is still teaching me so much. I'm learning to be not only a better person, but a better clinician. And I'm honored to be able to collaborate with the other women, such as Reyna, and learn from them as well. And also learn from our clients and be able to broaden my horizons as a person and as a clinician, and being able to take that with me to prospective jobs or just with me in general.
That's a great background, and I'm sure what you're learning there will help you in anything you go into, but especially in the social work area, etc.
Absolutely.
Now, on Long Island, could you tell us what is your role in helping people have access to mammograms?
Sure. That's really one of the biggest facets of that program is our Sisters United in Health program. It's run by Angelica Medina. She's our bilingual outreach coordinator. And she is everywhere. She's very well known in the community. So she and volunteers that we have as well as we have a bachelor's in social work student intern attend community outreach events, so health fairs, events at churches, healthy Sundays where people can get a flu shot or check their diabetes and blood pressure, because we want to be able to reach people and just provide general community education and awareness about breast cancer and breast health. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that don't know what a mammogram is or why it's important to be screened annually and where you can even go to be screened. What if you don't have insurance? So Angelica sort of is on the ground in the community by attending health events. She also provides free breast health education workshops on all of those facets, as well as risk reduction. So maybe if you have a family history of breast cancer or you don't, maybe there's different things that we can all do to reduce our risk, and that's all covered in the workshop. And then the third facet is that we partner, the Sisters United in Health program partners with the Cancer Screening Program of New York State, that then provides women with referrals for free mammography screening, pap smears, and colorectal exams. So that's either free or low cost screening depending on your insurance and so forth. So that's really wonderful because we're able to educate women, but then also get them the resources that they need to empower them and take care of their own health.
And I just want to stress, Reyna, what you said and what I'm hearing you say, if I get it correctly, certainly the fact that people may have a tight budget should be no reason to say I didn't get the mammogram, and that it's either free or low cost. And certainly the cost on the other side, cost can be both from money and motion and health, etc. But this is not really a good reason to say, well, I don't want to spend the X dollars for it, because I know a lot of very bright people, they avoid doctors, they avoid dentists, and of course then the condition gets exacerbated and it becomes much more difficult and painful, and you could have handled it early. Exactly.
What they recommend, depending on, assuming that you don't have family history, is that women, once you turn 40, you're screened annually. And there's programs as well as if you're insured or underinsured to ensure that you are able to receive your annual screening. It's very important, irrespective of your insurance status. So
that's good news to tell us that we can get that, and we want to find out more about the program. At this point in the show, we'd like to take a brief break. I'd like to let our audience know that I'm Bill Horan, along with Zac Turkel, and today we're talking about the Adelphi, New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program with our guest, Reyna Machado, and the Assistant Director, along with Desiree Abdelkader, one of the social work interns. You're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me. Get granular. Keep me in the pipeline. But nada. Nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me, and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume, and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
And now we return to My Hometown.
Thanks for being with us today here on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Bill Horan, along with Zac Turkel, and today we're talking about the Adelphi, New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program with our guest, Reyna Machado, the Assistant Director, along with Desiree Abdelkader, one of the social work interns.
We heard that you have partnerships with local hospitals. Can you tell us which ones and what those partnerships involve?
Sure. We currently partner with 5 different area hospitals, St. Francis, Mercy Medical Center, the Monster Cancer Center, that's part of Northwell, South Nassau Hospital, as well as NYU Winthrop. We partner with those 5 hospitals specifically for our peer-to-peer program, which I described, which is for women that call the hotline in case they want to be connected with a peer that's had their same experience with breast cancer and surviving and is thriving, or currently, in the midst of treatment. We also partner with Nassau University Medical Center, where we have 2 bilingual social workers on site, both in the oncology clinic and in breast clinic. And so that means that we have 2 bilingual social workers that will meet with every newly diagnosed breast cancer patient, as well as follow them throughout their treatment in oncology if they're having chemotherapy, and they are able to offer individual and family counseling and also telephone support through their diagnosis. Nassau University Medical Center is the county's safety net hospital, and so those women face very unique barriers. Very often they have challenges with transportation, food. If you're an hourly worker and you miss your shift, well, you're not going to have money to buy groceries, and you're in the midst of treatment, and we want to ensure that women don't have to make those kinds of choices. So our program receives grant funding to provide women with food and Metro cards, and even will help with taxi service. So sometimes you're just too sick after a chemotherapy, after a 5-hour infusion, to take a bus home. And so that's one of the partnerships we're very proud with. We're very proud to be able to help people that really need assistance. We work with Stony Brook Hospital as well, and really any area hospital if we receive referrals, and we serve the whole state, but those are the hospitals locally that we work with most closely.
So you've taken away virtually every excuse a person could have for not coming to the program. So they can't fool you, in other words. Well, not like the teacher that dog ate my homework. Whether it's cost, transportation, location, professional people, time of day, time of year, anytime during the week, day, night, they can call you. No excuses.
We even have video chat in case you want to, because nowadays people want to access things in a way that's easy for them. So we have a video chat for the hotline, and even our educational forums are all streamed online on YouTube. So even if you miss it or you're too sick to come to an event, you can still see it online.
Who is most at risk for breast cancer? I'm sure that'll probably surprise us, Zac and myself as men, but what is the risk group?
So anyone can get breast cancer. It does not discriminate.
Even men?
Even men.
Okay.
Although it's a smaller percentage, men do still get it. We also have, in our metastatic support group, we had a male who recently joined, and so anyone can really get it. So that's why it's important to follow up on those annual screenings, mammograms, and also empower yourself to know your family history and ask those difficult questions. And so education is also empowering as well. And what we can do is, like Reyna mentioned before, risk reduction. So we could exercise and just try to take care of ourselves as best we can.
Anything where you can reduce the risk. I mean, we all like that. It's not invasive. It's not surgery. Right. You're just taking better care, and maybe if you drop it by 5% or 50%, it's still helping you. It feels good, and probably, certainly exercise. We can all use a little more of that.
Absolutely.
We'd like to let our audience know, too, that if you're listening to the show or maybe you missed the first part of it, you can go to nccradio.org to to get a podcast of this show. So if you want a friend to hear it, if you want to know more about it, or if you're driving, you have to jump out of the car or go back to work or something now, just go to nccradio.org, look for podcasts, and the show is My Hometown on Breast Cancer, and you can get any of those parts that you may have missed.
You will find it on other podcasting websites too, Android Podcasts, iTunes, and Spreaker as well. So we got a ton of sources.
We get
where
no
you can
excuses
find them.
either. They got to listen. Can't get away from us.
We're both pretty
We're
great.
all over. That's right. We're all great. Zach's the greatest. Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, well, no, I don't know about that. So what is the risk if one of my family members have been diagnosed with breast cancer? Should I get a mammogram?
So if you have a first-degree relative that has had breast cancer, so say, Zach, in your case, if you have, let's hypothetically say I don't want to say this. I don't want to say your mom, but let's just say your grandmother was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was 50. And let's just say hypothetically you have a sister. Well, she should definitely be screened 10 years prior. So if you have a first-degree relative, a mother, a sister, a cousin, an aunt that has been diagnosed with breast cancer, you should be screened 10 years prior to when they were diagnosed. Now, anyone over 40 should be screened, but that's particularly important. That 10-year mark is important, and that's why it's important to know your family history if you have a family member that was diagnosed at a very early age. The risk for breast cancer is, everyone is at risk. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer over the course of their lifetime, and the risk increases every year as you age, but we are seeing more and more women under 40 being diagnosed, and that is when you're not screened. So that's the part that's concerning. If you have family history, you want to be even more aware and conscious and ensure that you speak with your doctor and that you're being screened appropriately.
And also to add on to that we also have a women under 40 online group. So that caters to the women who
have everything. You actually do.
You have everything.
We try.
Yeah. He'll probably be ordering pizza from you because that's what Zach does. But we just want you to be aware of that. This is probably a lady in charge of that or a man sitting there going, 1 pizza over to Zach.
So it really caters that group. We had one client who was cooking and running after her kids while she was in session with us. So it's really unique in that way. So we try to best serve our clients as
you
best
really
we
seem
can.
to do it. So
yes, and this is one question that really stood out to me because does the fact that we live on Long Island give us a reason to be more concerned about the disease? Now, I've read a Newsday article about this. We've heard that it seems to be more prevalent on Long Island. Do you know why? Because I remember reading a Newsday article and talking to a Newsday reporter about this same scenario. So why is it more prevalent on Long Island?
So the breast cancer rate in New York State is higher than the national average. And the breast cancer rate on Long Island is higher than when compared to the New York State. There have been studies that have looked into this. A lot of it has to do with the environment and specifically the water and even electrical, where the electrical poles are. But those studies have been inconclusive. And that's mainly because we can't say there's a cause and effect. We can't say breast cancer is caused because of A, B, or C. So there is a higher rate on Long Island, but we can't definitively say why. All we can do is make sure that women are screened and that you partake in risk reduction activities like alcohol reduction, smoking cessation, healthier lifestyle, healthier diet, more exercise. Those are all things that we can't control. Other things, there's additional research, and there's always going to be more research and always looking into the cause and ultimately a cure. But right now, we could only control this a little bit, and so that's what we do.
All right, and I want to let our listeners know that you were listening to My Hometown on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Zac Turkel, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking about the Adelphi New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program with our guests, Reyna Machado, their Assistant Director, along with Desiree Abdelkader, one of their social work interns.
Now, how about some myths? I'm sure we always hear stories. I'm sure you hear them from people and know more about them. Especially, should women of color be more concerned about potentially getting breast cancer, or are there some other myths that we should know about?
So African Americans, they tend to be diagnosed at a later age and at a later stage. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's also, as I said before, it's important to take care of ourselves, especially women. We tend to just take care of everyone else and our families and kind of put ourselves on the back burner. And so it's just very important to do that and be on top of it and put yourself first at times, and that's okay to do that. And that way it could be detected earlier and the treatment could be that much of a difference.
The same applies to Hispanic women. Hispanic women are diagnosed at a rate less than that of Caucasian women, but the diagnosis tends to be later. And so the treatment, it may be more aggressive, and the recovery may not be as great. The death rate for the African American community in particular is higher than when compared to Caucasian women. Some myths that we dispel in sisters workshops are, well, if I put my cell phone in my bra, am I going to get breast cancer? If I get a mammogram, am I going to get breast cancer? Is it painful? There's a lot of misconceptions about screening and mammography screening, and I think sometimes people just have a fear of knowing, right? So they don't want to go and get a mammogram because you don't really, then that means you have to face the reality of what it might be, right? So.
I think it's usually, we all build up such monsters, and when we find out, like, that's all there was to it, all I had to do was that or this, or, thus and so. And this is a great opportunity to let people know, if someone wants to know more about the program, get in touch with you, how do they do it, where do they come, what's the best way, a call, a visit, an email?
You can always call our hotline. It's toll free at 1-800-877-8077. If you want to check out our website, it's breast.cancer.adelphi.edu. That has all of our services, upcoming events. Everything is free and completely confidential. So if you're interested in a group, an educational event, our annual celebration of survivorship, which happens every October, everything is on our website, as well as there are links to our social media, which has pictures and all kinds of other events and happenings in the community.
And certainly it's never going to hurt to know too much about breast cancer, and especially what you ladies are doing and the program is doing. No, because you really sound like you're doing a great job. You've covered all the bases, and better to know about the myths, the problems, etc. first, and especially since the word free, it's not costing anything, so you just eliminated that excuse. Zach?
Well, this is an interesting question, and in my opinion, why don't all women go for mammograms? Is there a lack of insurance? Is a problem? Is that one reason why? Or maybe some women, they're like, forget about it. What's the reason?
It really varies. Some women, as I mentioned before, in certain communities are uninsured or underinsured. And so for some of them, it's access. For some women, it's access to health care. Some women have insurance and they still don't go to get their mammograms. And they have insurance and the means and transportation, but it's more of an inconvenience, or it's something that you just don't prioritize. Because when we met with hospitals, they say, oh my gosh, we have to go through and kind of remind people. I feel like it's sort of like the dentist. No one really wants to go,
right.
But you need to go. It's important. And so that's where we have annual campaigns every year for Mother's Day and also in October to remind people to get screened. So our last campaign for Mother's Day was knowledge is your superpower, because knowledge is power, and we want to empower people to go and get screened and in order to be informed and take care of their own health.
And do it for your family. And again, very nice people, Desiree and Reyna. They're going to be nice to you. They're going to serve you pizza. It's free. It's all the good things you could ask for there. And quickly give that website again.
Sure. The website is breast-cancer.adelphi.edu.
And the phone number?
The phone number is 1-800-877-8077.
We want to thank our guests for being here today and talking about the Adelphi New York State Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program with our guest, Reyna Machado, Assistant Director, along with Desiree Abdelkader, the social work intern from the Adelphi New York Statewide Breast Cancer Hotline and Support Program. I'm Bill Horan, along with Zac Turkel. We want to thank you for listening to this week's edition of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to WHPC at ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.